Okay, so we're going to continue working through Chapter 4 sample exam questions from the University of London International Programme. We're going to work through the extended questions, so these questions will be relevant to anybody studying a first year of economics module at any good university around the world. We have already done part 1 AI, so we're going to start with AII in this video. So from the first part of the question, we're currently in this position. We're then told that the price of bread falls to 80 pence per loaf. How will this affect her purchases? So what we need to do is we need to understand that a decrease in the price of a good will cause a swivel in our budget constraint. A decrease in the price of bread, which is on our y-axis, will cause our budget constraint to swivel in this way. Okay, and why is that? Well, that's because with the price of bread lower, the maximum amount of bread we can now obtain with our given budget is a lot higher. So the question told us that her income was £12. So now, to get this point here, we always do M over the price of good Y. So essentially this is 12 over 0.8, which is now 15. So before it was 12, now it's 15, so that's why this bit is higher. This bit stays exactly the same because the price of good X has not changed. So the maximum amount of cheese we can get is still 4. Okay, so once we've got our new budget constraint, we then need to draw on our new utility line. Because we can now achieve a higher level of utility, given that our budget, there's this whole new area available to us. So I'm going to make my utility line tangent to my budget constraint at this point here. You may be thinking, well, why did I choose this point and not somewhere here or here? Well, to be honest, because the question doesn't tell us anything about the size of the income and the substitution effects, or whether this is a normal or inferior good, it doesn't actually matter where we put the point on our budget constraint. So we had free choice, we could put it anywhere. So I've just chosen to put it here. So then I draw on my new utility curves. Remember, your utility curves can never cross. So just make sure that you don't have an intersection between U1 and U2. Okay, so let's look at our starting point. So our starting point, at the beginning we consumed X1 and Y1. After the decrease in price of Y, we now consume X2 and Y2. So our overall effect is from Y1 to Y2. And remember from your notes, the overall effect is equal to the substitution effect plus the income effect. So what we need to then go and do is we need to then go and split this overall effect into these two different effects. So you must always go and find the substitution effect first. Also, for a question like this, where you have the income and substitution effects in the question, I would define each one. So the substitution effect just encourages the consumer to consume more of the relatively cheaper product. And it is the effect on consumption due to the change in price. So in order to get the income effect, what we do is we create a budget line, a new budget line, which is tangent to our new budget line, but we then shift it out to our old utility. So it's parallel to our new budget line, but then we shift it out to touch our old utility line. So we see we kind of got this tangency point there. So then I'll just bring this in to make it a bit neater. Cool. So we can see that we've got a bit of a tangency here. So this we can call x3, and this we'll call y3. It's getting a bit congested here, but just be clear that y3 corresponds to this point. Okay, so the substitution effect is looking at how would we change our behavior if the change in our income from the price change is stripped out. So that's what we've done. We've stripped out the income effect. And we see that in order to have the same utility faced with the new prices, we'd actually consume a little bit more of y and a little bit less of x. Because can you see from y1 to y3 to maintain this level of utility at these new prices? So the substitution effect is y1 to y3, and it is positive in this example, which makes sense because y is relatively cheaper now because the price has gone down, so the substitution effect will tell us to buy more of it. So to get the income effect, well, the income effect is just the rest of the overall effect. So the overall effect was from y to y2, as we wrote here. The substitution effect is from y1 to y3, so therefore the income effect is from y3 to y2. This bit here. And in this case, the income effect was also positive. Which implies that y is a normal good. And this would give you the marks for this question. Remember, I verbally gave you a definition of income and substitution effect, but if I was doing this in an exam, I would have those written out first, the definitions, and then do this diagrammatic analysis with this written in full sentences, and that would give you the marks for the question.